Waiting for Seconds is a podcast that talks about subjects of self harm, suicide, eating disorders, and other personal subjects. If you don't feel comfortable listening to this podcast alone, listen to it with someone important to you. May that be a teacher, a parent figure, or someone you feel comfortable being with. Please enjoy the rest of the episode.
This is Waiting for Seconds, the interview podcast where we meet people and ask them who they are and why they are. I'm Malcolm Outkelt, and I'm here with Shannon Miller.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going?
Uh,
Do you listen to podcasts?
yeah, I listen to it. It's become less recently, but I used to listen to quite a few podcasts. I'd take the bus to both work and school on alternating days, and it was like at least 30-minute commute every day both ways. So I
Yeah.
had a lot of podcast listening time, but I haven't listened to as many recently, mostly because I'm schooling from home and not working. So I don't have places to go. How about you?
I honestly, I don't think I listen to a lot of podcasts because I'll usually just listen to the ones like just a couple of Dungeons and Dragons podcasts, or
Hmm.
I don't think I've ever listened to specifically an interview podcast, uh, unless it's like special guest episodes.
Hmm.
But it's usually the guest episodes are bringing people that are like just bring them into their show to do the show with them,
Hmm.
kind of. I don't know.
Yeah, that's mostly, they have 5 minutes talking about a guest, but I mean, we're trying to dedicate a whole thing to it, so it's going to
Yeah,
feel a little bit different.
yeah. This first episode, we want to talk about ourselves, but in the following episodes, we'll bring guests, maybe our friends and family, or maybe some teachers that we have grown up with,
Hmm.
or maybe an Abraham Lincoln impersonator. But we're going to try diving deep into who exactly they are and how they've gotten to where they are.
What
Um,
life choices they made, and maybe what life choices they didn't make.
yeah. And we've prepared a list of questions today that will hopefully show you who we are as people. This includes politics, spirituality, and other sensitive topics. And we really want to dive deep just because in our lovely world that we live in today, it's kind of difficult to really understand like worldviews with how
Hmm.
crappy and bad media is today.
And we'll probably be coming back to these in, 5, maybe 10 episodes and talking about them again, seeing if any of these opinions have changed significantly, or maybe if any of the guests have changed our opinions.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So
think we should just jump right into it.
hell yeah.
Do you
Hell
have a question to
yeah.
start us off?
Um actually yeah, I do. So like when you were younger, did you have any specific like Christmas gift, birthday gift, like just handed out to you either by a grandparent or maybe your sibling or your uncle or
Hmm.
your aunt, like that just either strangely has made such a big impact that you don't even realize it, or you'll come back to like you're still using it almost?
Hmm.
Like maybe it's a water bottle or like a I don't know, maybe it's a cool plant that's still like in your house, or a dog.
I've never really been much of a gift person. Um, I'm very much one of those people who my parents or grandparents ask me what to get them as a gift, and I just shrug, and I end up getting, $50 cash. Because, it works. Gift cards, maybe. Um, The thing that comes to mind immediately is my computer. I got my first personal home computer when I was
What was it?
probably 7. Oh god, it was terrible.
Was
I
it
don't
one
know
of
what
like
it
those?
was, but it was shit.
I oh, my first computer was from my neighbor, and it was like from her office, and it was just a big old chunky Dell
Hmm.
laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first
What?
computer I ever used was my parents'. Actually, funnily enough, in the same desk I am currently using as my computer desk.
Ew,
But
it's that wardrobe, right?
yeah, it's the wardrobe. It's a great wardrobe. It works so well.
Hey, I've seen pictures of your wardrobe, and it's not bad.
It's very nice.
It's
It's not
very good.
just not bad. It's a great wardrobe.
It's a great wardrobe.
And it comes with built-in desk space and everything. Like, what wouldn't you want? Well, maybe a second monitor, but
I mean, there's so many. Have you seen those like? It's something on Reddit. It's like the bad or the really good build stations. Some of
mm,
those wardrobes, it's almost like a Murphy bed.
yeah, I've seen some of those crazy things that just fold out and out and out.
But what were you running on your computer? The one that you got
Oh
from your
God.
grandparents? Like, is it Windows
It was
XP?
probably Windows 8. I think it was 8
Really?
at that time. It was yeah, it was pretty late. I survived mostly on my parents' computer for quite a while, which I think we had on XP and maybe Vista. Um, God, I loved that old computer though. I played so much bullshit on that.
Well, I remember all those Windows XP games. I know
Yeah.
my mom, she uh she'd always when she was having like a stressful day, she just hop on the computer and play Bookworm. Did you ever play
Mm,
Book? Do you know it
I
was
think I do.
it was the word it was like Scrabble, but you, are you looking it up?
Yeah.
I the
I do
weird
recognize that character,
the
but I
weird
don't think I played.
Bookworm. Oh. Ugh. Ugh. It's a dark time in my
Dark,
excuse
dark
me.
time.
Uh how like the computer that you had,
Mm,
does that you're big into computers, right? I mean, you
yeah,
code, you do all
I'm it's fair to say I'm big into computers. I'm more into the software side than the hardware side, though. Um, I like coding. I like, UI design, those kinds of things. More than I actually like putting together or pulling apart computers. Although pulling
right.
apart computers is so fucking fun.
It is so
If I
fucking
could do
fun.
that as a job, I absolutely would. I just don't think anybody needs that.
Right, right. Yeah.
What about you? What's your favorite gift?
I keep coming back to it. When I graduated 8th grade, which feels like a long time ago,
Hmm.
but it was what? 3 plus 4. Yeah, it was only like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Whack. Whoa. Um anyways, I got one of those it was like the first hydro flasks that had come out.
Mm.
Um so they weren't even like super expensive. They were like maybe 20, $25, and now they're like 30, 36, $37. But uh my buddy Dusty, he had bought it for me, and I still have, after 7 years, I still have that water bottle just in my closet. It has been banged up. It has been left in closets, and um but I
Absolutely
still
ruined.
yeah, but I still use it. Like uh you clean it out, you put some baking soda in it, and
Hmm.
then just go on your merry way. And I don't know why, but I look back on like sometimes gifts like that I just have used forever
Mm-hmm.
and I still continue to use. Like I got other gifts. I know I got other gifts.
That's a really nice little story, though, that, you know, those objects can sometimes just become so sentimental to us. I, for the longest time, had a Nalgene water bottle, not sponsored. Uh, that
Could be.
it was I think it was a blue one, clear solid plastic with a black top. Um, and I had that fucking thing since like I had it from 6th grade up until like the last year of high school. And then one day I dropped it and it shattered.
Wait,
And like they're not
what?
supposed to do that.
No,
Yeah,
they're
I know.
fully plastic. They
Uh-huh.
just they're super durable. So if anything, it just would have been a good scratch, but it shattered?
Yeah, it was above head height onto the bathroom floor and it was 5 or 6 pieces. And
Oh.
yeah, I mean, it actually was surprisingly easy to clean up. It didn't shatter the way you'd imagine glass did. It just came
No,
into 6 or 7 parts.
oh. Dude, that's so
But there
rough.
was a lot of water on the floor. Oh, it was also filled with water and, you know, probably weighing about a pound, which didn't help.
Right. I don't think I've ever. I mean, I broke a couple Nalgene's, like, and I'd get a match or something and like try and
Hmm.
take that
Melt it
or
back together.
melt it back together.
Yeah.
It was looked so janky and just like chewed up, but it
Hmm.
turned out okay.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I mean, we do look at our gifts. It's usually like a love language, either gifts or um. Oh, what are love languages again? It's physical touch,
Time, words of
quality
affection,
time.
gifts.
What are the acts of service?
Hmm.
Uh, and I mean, I didn't think I was like a gifts person, but honestly, I don't know. It's gonna sound
Hmm.
stereotypical, but quickest way to a boy's heart is through his stomach, and like the amount of times, even just a simple sandwich that like your mom makes you,
Hmm.
or even your brother makes you, uh, it just I just feel loved in that way. It's just weird. But speaking of family,
Hmm.
is it you said you're an only child?
I am an only child.
Do you think that do you think that makes you I was gonna say, do you think that makes you better than me? Uh
Yes.
do you think what do you think would happen if you had like an older brother or maybe a younger sister? Like, do you think
That's
that would change completely who you are?
um yeah, I think it probably would. I feel like a lot of my personality, like my being, has been molded by being alone. If that sounds, you know,
That
darker and
sounds
sadder than I mean.
terrible, buddy.
Um, but a lot of my youth was finding people to be around. I had these neighbors who lived across the street, um, named Amber and Teresa,
Ew.
and another one, an older boy. Um,
Call him.
and like I spent so much time with them, and they molded me in a way that I can't even acknowledge because it's so deep and so personal. Um, and then one of them tried to steal my DS, and
And you
my
never
parents were mad about it, and I never spoke to them again.
and
And
you will
then one day
never
they
hear from them.
moved away, and you know I didn't
Yeah.
know any of them that like on that level where I'd share phone numbers or new addresses or anything, and
You've
I
never
don't know
told me
any of them now.
you've never told me about your childhood friends. That's
Another one who is important to me, and honestly, I would call, at least at that time, probably pretty close to my brother, was a boy named Asher who lived. Oh God, he started by living quite a ways away, and then he moved to the house that's like basically directly behind, past the alley from me. And then he moved away again.
Right.
And our parents were friends because they worked together at a preschool.
Mhm.
My mother and his mother, and we just became unbelievably close friends. I cared about him so much, and his two brothers were like family. And then he moved away, and I stopped knowing him all that well, and I fell out of touch. And I grew older too, and I met new people who I could be friends with, and our lives just went in completely different directions. And I haven't talked to him in 4 years, probably now. But Asher was my best friend for the longest time.
Huh.
And I think that if I had a brother or a sister, that person would be closer to me than Amber or Teresa or Asher would have been.
Right.
Uh,
Or that boy.
that boy.
Their brother.
I don't. I didn't like him very much anyway, honestly. Um,
That's fair.
and I think that they would have molded me more, even if they were younger. They would have molded me and made me be a different person. Maybe I'd be more family oriented, or maybe I'd be more
Ooh.
materialistically concerned. I
Yeah.
expect I probably would be more materialistically concerned, as my family is pretty poor. I assume you know that.
Yeah.
Um, and often we struggled for food, just for the three people.
Right.
And if there was four, I expect that struggle would have been even worse. And I might have, done something stupid or gone a different direction, got a job super early, like that kind of a thing,
Hmm.
if there was a fourth person. How about you? I know you have two brothers.
Yeah, I'm the youngest. I'm a baby.
Hmm.
I don't know what would happen if I was an only child. Uh I like my personal life is so much connected with my siblings.
Hmm.
One that I currently live with and the other one like in Missouri.
Hmm.
Uh if I was an only child, I don't know if I would have done the same choices because a lot of my influences was like based off of my older siblings. Like Austin, all the decisions, good and bad. I've looked at those and like thought maybe I need to do that. Like going to a high school where like away from home.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have actually done that had Austin gone to a boarding academy or and then like with Jeremy it was I think I would have gotten a lot oh it's weird to say. I think I would have gotten a lot more attention
Hmm.
maybe to um which is not a bad thing. I think my independence is like a good thing,
Hmm.
but I would have gotten maybe a little bit more attention from both of my parents because I mean, I've got two older brothers. The love has to go around
Hmm.
and maybe taking more trips or but going like to what you were saying about like loneliness, uh I think I would have been felt a little bit more alone because we had we had neighborhood friends and I had my uh like elementary school friends
Hmm.
that like were in the same town or neighborhood that I was. Like my buddy TJ. What a guy. Like
Yeah.
he was so he was influential because he had his little brother Brady and he would always hang out with us and we never always
Hmm.
wanted him to hang out with us, but um just a crazy crazy kid. I don't even know what he's doing nowadays, but we used to play just a lot of Legos, or there's always stuff with swords. His parents never wanted us to be on like the computer or anything.
Mm.
Um, or my buddy Jacob, he had a lot. He had a lot of like Xbox 360. No, it wasn't 360. It would just be the first Xbox. We'd play Simpsons or Guitar Hero. I think, like you were saying, like the people who we spent our time with, either the elementary school friends, like they would have become way closer than I think, or maybe I would have desired to be more close. Um, I don't know.
If there were
It's
other
hard.
people around.
It's hard to say what life would be like with those people who have influenced you so
Hmm.
much.
It really is.
Even if like you don't even notice the influences, but maybe if you just take like 10 minutes and look back on the good and the bad, who the people you haven't seen in most of your life, and it was just like those little moments that changed you.
Hmm.
Like even today, we were with my trainer, and he had brought his kid with us floating, and like we're gonna be me, my brother, and his fiance. We're gonna be a part of his childhood, strangely enough, and hopefully we influence him for the better. But who knows? Um,
Hopefully.
yeah,
But at the same time, that kid might, look back in 5 years and have no clue that you even exist.
I won't be Uncle Shannon.
You won't be Uncle Shannon. Memories are strange like that, though, that some things
Yeah,
embed themselves and some things just don't matter. And,
yeah,
you never really know which one is which in the moment.
yeah, for sure. It's like that Inside Out movie, your
Hmm.
core memories.
Yeah. Some things are core and some things are just so absolutely unimportant.
That's such a good movie.
I never watched it.
What?
I've heard quite a bit about it, though.
I mean, I just like the memory part of it. You got these just core memories about what makes you sad or what makes you angry or what makes you happy. But do you think do you think family is more of a is more important like as a blood bond, or do you think family is just the people who you surround yourself with
Hmm.
that you think maybe love you the most, or um cuz I mean, your parents are your parents. They're always going to love you, but sometimes I think not just my mom and my dad love or how do I want to word this? I feel like family just goes beyond blood.
Hmm. In a theoretical situation where one of us was adopted, would we still like how do you love your parents the same way if they're not blood? As it's not really something I can speak on, I don't think. I've never really I've gotten close to some people, like deeply close to Asher and his family, for example. But that
Mm.
was 12 years ago when, I was 8. I didn't know shit.
Yeah. we were
I just wanted to
8
play
years old.
video
Malcolm
game, and
was pretty dumb.
I was pretty stupid at 8 years old. I was also difficult at 8 years old. Uh, but I haven't had anyone closer than my parents in I mean, I wouldn't even say those people were closer than my parents, but Asher I looked at like a brother, and I
Right.
don't think I could anyone other than my parents. The way I love my parents feels so different than the way I love other people.
Huh.
But at the same time, I'm not in a good position to answer that. I'm not adopted. I don't have any adopted siblings. Um, I have some cousins who are adopted, but I don't know them very well.
I just kind of look at it like family going beyond blood as like I honestly I don't I would consider you family.
I appreciate that.
I mean I've also got my buddy Dusty who I'd consider family, and I know his wife would for sure consider me family depending on. I mean, there's people out there who just don't have a good relationship with their parents, maybe like you
Hmm.
and me, and so they need those people um, to be more like siblings. And because I know one thing for sure, I know Dusty has helped me. Him and his wife have helped me like just move on from high school.
Hmm.
Um, so I don't know. I mean, even in high school, I had parent figures that were couldn't teach me the same things like my parents could.
Hmm.
So I've always looked at like those family bonds, especially nowadays. We don't have the old tradition of your family. Like you're supposed to always keep with your family, and I mean I agree to a point, but if you've really had just a not so good family life, then having people who have taught you, even if they're older, like a lot of the people who have influenced me are like way older than me. They probably could be my parent or my grandparent, which is kind of weird. But um,
I actually would like to know from that question about your family life a little bit more. I know pretty well about your brothers, but like, how was your family life when you were young? Do you feel like it was pretty positive overall? Would you say that it's better than other people's? Would you say that on average it's worse than other people's?
uh,
Um, Go ahead.
honestly, I think the I think when I was younger, I looked at my family as not the best.
Hmm.
But now that I'm way older, I look at it like uh, it's all uh, I wouldn't say it's all positive. I mean, there's hardships and loss, or
Hmm.
maybe it was. I think most of the time, the my childhood was like very good in the way that I was always had a roof over my head. I was always fed, sometimes like more than enough, and I had friends and I had a good education. Like the standards of a childhood, like I had toys, I had space, and I mean emotionally, I don't know, maybe I didn't emotionally have the best childhood. Um just like I mean your parents, you either they yell at you or I never was like super like abused or anything.
Hmm. But
Which
you
in that
hold, it's hard not to hold some trauma from those.
I mean, yeah, I mean some like we were just talking about core memories,
Hmm.
trauma is it can happen very early on in a kid's life. It's not really I don't get like super anxious about it like some other people do,
Hmm.
but it's still some things I remember more than others, but I would say compared to most people, I think I had a pretty good childhood. My parents stayed together most. No, I'd say once you get to high school, your childhood kind of slows down and you become more
Hmm.
of an adult. So my parents stayed together for most of my childhood, which I know that's a big influence to some people. Um, like having divorces or split ups, it
That can be
changes.
really effective on people.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think for to answer your question in like a short sentence, I had a really good childhood compared to other people, and I don't think I would change anything or want to change anything because all the good stuff and all the bad stuff, they make me who I am for the better, if you know what I
hmm
mean.
All of it contributes to you as a
Right.
person.
It
Yeah,
sounded like
that's a really
you were
nice answer.
you're talking about your parents. So did you had a pretty good childhood, especially
hmm
your parents probably you're saying you're poor, your parents trying to make the best of the situations or uh,
Yeah, I mean,
what they had at the time. If you
all
want
in
to
all, I
go
had a
on
pretty
that.
damn good childhood. My parents are deeply loving and also really good at working out things like arguments without doing it in front of me.
Yeah.
Uh, they've always been respectful of things like my privacy and my requests. Uh, there's definitely some things that like maybe could have gone better. Um,
Hmm.
but I think that all in all, I had a pretty fucking damn good childhood. Um, if I wanted to pinpoint some bad things, I would say that I'm heavily reliant on food. Food was often used as a encouragement for me. Uh,
Ooh.
you
Okay.
know,
Yeah.
even just the like, if you finish your dinner, you can get ice cream kind of a trope.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that has definitely affected me throughout my life. I mean, I am a pretty fat guy. And if not for that, I might very well be different. But I think that that has also worked in positive ways, that I do love food. I like to make food. I like to sit down and cook. I like to eat. And those things contribute largely to who I am, my food experience.
One thing's for sure. Don't take this in a bad
hmm
way. Most of the chefs who make like really good food, they're usually like on the bigger side.
hmm
Oh,
Yeah. I'd like to jump back. You brought up the trauma from your childhood and the stress. And I'd like to ask you about stress. Stress management is a pretty common thing for just about everyone in today's society. How do you manage your stress? How much stress do you have? And do you take it in stride or does it
ooh.
present more challenge?
You know, I'm not. I don't think I 100% deal with my stress maybe in the best way. Um, right now, I try to deal with my stress through like Muay Thai, which you know about,
hmm
trying to like the boxing kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, like I don't think I have a lot of stress. I think I sometimes will feel pressure at work,
Mm,
um, just because people are like, you got to get this done before this time. But I would rather be patient and do my work. I don't think I really. I think I will use my stress management as in try and make a good meal or um, work out or maybe just that when I get off of work for that week, I will go watch a movie and
mhm,
just relax. I try to my stress management is to push it off to the side a little bit, and if it's like something that's really bothering me versus like pressure, I will try and over analyze it in my brain. If it's like somebody was really rude to me today or yesterday or whenever, I will overanalyze and see, okay, what did I say wrong?
mhm.
What did they say wrong that made me feel that way? And then either, depending on the situation, either go back to it or try and push it off to the side. And if it's not such a big deal that I need to analyze it, I'll just push it off to the side. Um,
Do you think that stress ever gets to you later when you push it off to the side? Or is that a good way to compartmentalize it for you and actually, you know, get rid of it?
I don't think, honestly, I don't think it exactly rids get get
Gets rid of it?
gets rid of it.
but I think it definitely helps, like, me in the long run, so that when it comes to those situations, maybe I can handle it better the next time.
Okay.
Or, yeah, I think that's the best answer I can give. I mean, I think I probably need to see somebody or talk to like a therapist or somebody that maybe knows how to deal with stress better than I do. But
Mm-hmm.
all in all, I think I do it in a way that's healthy enough that it's not destructive.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think stress should like super define who we are, so that we try and I like to push it off to the side, because if I'm in the moment and I'm trying to have a good time, then I just want to keep to that. I don't want to let that stress take over.
Yeah.
Do you deal with stress a lot differently than I do? If
Uh,
actually I don't know.
so yeah, in all truth, I've been pretty bad with dealing with stress throughout most of my life.
Right.
Um, you might not know this, and this is a little dark, but there have been periods where I have self-harmed or uh, overeaten, stress eaten, because of stress.
Yeah.
And since those points, I have figured out better coping mechanisms. Um, a lot of like relaxing and petting dogs is honestly a really damn good one.
I
Um,
That's such a good one.
it
I,
really is.
I
It's
love
so
petting
nice.
dogs.
I do
I
too.
I need I mean I got my tortoise, but I can't
It's
exactly pet
different.
her.
There's no fur.
There's no fur. There's no soft.
Yeah.
No soft.
Um, and I've definitely I have grown from that point, but I don't really know if I have a stress removing mechanism right now. The only real thing that comes to mind is sitting outside at night. Um, I have this great seat right by my window, outside. And I mean, it's not a really comfy chair or anything. It's just a shitty lawn furniture,
Mm-hmm.
but it's really nice to just sit in it and stare up at the sky and think about everything that has gone wrong and things that have gone right and what I can do to right those wrongs and just take a breath and relax. I think that's really my biggest strategy is just taking a breath. Meditative breathing, maybe, is what I'd call
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's a maybe not the best. Again, I probably should talk to a therapist, like you were saying, but I think that for personal stress management, I've done worse.
That's true. I mean, if we look back on where we are, like maybe right now,
Hmm.
or where we were, I definitely feel like my stress management is a lot better than what it was in
Hmm.
middle school or elementary school.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Much better than, I mean, grown from those points and become people who acknowledge that there are problems with what we did,
That's
that
usually the
our stress management mechanisms were not great.
we're not great people. We're
Eh,
terrible people.
we're terrible people.
When you're talking about looking up into the sky, do you
Yeah.
think or are you if I remember, you're not a super religious person.
Hmm.
Do you think did your grandparents ever like bring you into religion, or maybe like just maybe school bring you to church or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I have a really interesting history with both religion and spirituality. Um, the preschool that both my mother and Asher's mother worked at was a Jewish preschool. And I went there, the JCC, Jewish, two other words that start with C.
Hmm.
Um, and I went there for quite a while. I learned some Jewish prayers. I learned how to appropriately dedicate to God. And then probably at most 2 years later, I'd already forgotten all of it. But
Huh.
I had some experience with that. My grandparents, almost all of them, at least all of them to my knowledge, are religious. Some form of Christian or Catholic or something like that. My grandmother particularly often used to take me to church. We would go for the pancake breakfasts, which were very good.
Oh yeah, we had breakfast too. Ugh.
Dude,
Ugh.
that shit was good.
Oh yeah.
Sausages. I love those sausages.
Yeah, they never were. I forget Adventists or we're all vegetarians, so
Oh, that's rough.
yeah. We didn't get those good sausages. We got the veggie links.
Mm,
Ugh.
yeah, for real.
I honestly didn't know that you were religious or just not you, but your family was religious.
I mean, they're not really. My mom worked at a Jewish preschool, but
Right.
also my mother worked at a spiritual store. Um, both it actually combined spiritual store and dog supply store. So they sold both like books about spirituality and dog food.
Hell yeah.
Right? Honestly, it was the place to be. That fucking place was great.
That sounds like a place to pet dogs.
It was a place to pet dogs. Um, and my mother is pretty deeply spiritual, but also not openly spiritual, I would say. We've talked about I know she believes in some like forms of reincarnation, but like not in such a super deep way that one might believe in their religion.
Right.
It's kind of like an ingrained sense of spirituality.
So
And
you would consider your mom like agnostic?
yeah, my mom is
She believes
I
in
would
like a
consider
higher
her
power.
spiritual in the same way that like I might consider a Buddhist spiritual.
Okay, yeah.
Um in like that it's not maybe the best word for it, but that's kind of generally what it is acknowledged in pop culture. Um like the kind of person who has incense and holy symbols around the house, not necessarily from one being or from one religion. And despite all of those religious up tendencies, I never really was spiritual. I've never really been spiritual or religious. I would describe myself as agnostic, as you mentioned earlier. I
You
don't
believe
really
in the
believe that there is a God, but I don't really believe that there isn't either.
right.
There's no solid evidence that there is no God, and similarly, I don't believe there's any solid evidence there is a God. And I don't really know if I care either. The world is the same way, one way or another.
That's true. I mean, yeah, just I didn't that's so new to me.
Mm.
I appreciate you sharing that.
What about you? Are you religious?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm not a diehard Christian,
Hmm.
but I do believe in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ.
Hmm. Our boy.
Um our boy, our homie. Um I don't believe it maybe in the same way other people do. I grew up um first started growing up Lutheran.
Hmm.
That's what my dad believed, and so my mom, when they married, they brought us to a Lutheran church, and I went to the Sunday school and uh,
Hmm.
had fishy crackers, those good goldfish, and we, I think we eventually got. I don't really know exactly what happened, but we left the church, and uh, then we came back to just a small Adventist church, which I didn't even know what Adventism was until like probably middle school and started to understand what we believed. And like the doctrines, and now, after even going to high school, where some of the teachers taught that Adventism is like the only true Christianity,
Hmm.
and then other teachers taught me like, no, we don't really know if like our ways are the best ways. And so I I kind of looked at it like, you know, I don't 100% believe the Bible in a direct form, like word for word. I
Hmm.
like to look back on the Greek and Hebrew words, because some of the interpretations that we have today and are being taught today are not the correct forms. Like I try to learn the best I can from the Bible, because of how many times it's been rewritten or
Hmm.
translated. It changes over time, and
Yeah.
I think it's very important to me that I get like the realest detail or the best truth I can,
The
because
truest form.
the truest form. I mean, I don't want to be lied to, and especially like from what I've found, that Christians who believe that their denomination is the one and only way, it's very negative, and I don't know, I don't think it's super safe for youth, especially if they've grown up in the church. Um it's not a good look
Hmm.
for them, like, to be super like rule with an iron fist in the church.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what I guess what would happen to me. Like, I don't go to church, but I still pray, or like in times of stress. That's one
Hmm.
of the things that I would sometimes do, is like when I'm driving to work or driving home from work, it will be I just talk to God, and it's not, I just see him as like a homie almost, or like
Hmm. The homie who
it's
can help you out when you need
it,
it. And
yeah, it's more of a relationship than a
worship.
worship. And I
I think
think,
that's a really positive way to look at that religion.
yeah, I know that a lot of the people I see, or the people I've gone to church with, it seems like more of a worship than it is a relationship, and
Hmm.
that's not where I want to go with that. And especially when it comes to people who do the worship, they want to try and force it on other people. And I mean, we've talked about religion in
Hmm.
when we've played games and stuff, and
Personally.
personally, and I've never, at least I hope I've never like tried to uh, force you into anything you didn't want to talk about, or
No,
um, just
I've
a
never felt that way.
non-religious. Like, I mean, the Bible talks about wanting to let uh, people all over the world know who Jesus Christ is, and I know that's the mission of a Christian, but it's not to force it to people who don't want to listen.
Hmm. Tell people of Christ, but only when they want to be told.
Yeah, I mean, I like to do my religion with the idea that uh, Christianity has changed me in a positive way, and if I reflect that, like, be like Jesus. You've heard that before.
Hmm. What would Jesus do?
What would Jesus do? Um, yeah, I I don't think I've got much else to say on religion, and
Yeah, I understand that.
yeah,
Um, I'd like to know, do you think of yourself more of an optimist or a pessimist? More,
definitely
go ahead.
definitely an optimist.
Yeah.
I I really dislike pessimism. Uh, even like, I look at people in general with this. I don't want. How do I word this? I like to look at people like everybody is all bad, but we're all trying to do, like, we're inherently evil. That's what I
Mm.
guess what I'm trying to say. But if you try to look at things in a positive light, and you try and treat people better, and I do that give and take of people are always going to try and be good, even though we fall short sometimes, or and so I will always try to be an optimist. Like, when I go out on a trip, it's always going to go the way I would want it.
Mhm.
And I never try to look down on like a trip or a situation, because I feel like it makes it worse if you're always looking down instead of looking up. Maybe that's the simplest way I could say it. But you're definitely an optimist, right?
Um, I have had some struggle with defining myself between optimist and pessimist. There have definitely been periods in my life where I would absolutely call myself a pessimist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I also do, more often than a lot of the people around me at least, look at things in a way of being like assuming good, assuming that people have good intentions, um, and assuming that things will go best, even if I believe in my heart of hearts that things might not go the best. I don't exactly know where that falls, if I'm being honest. I think I would define myself as a pessimist. But if I were to take a quiz or talk to a therapist, it might very reasonably call me an optimist.
With the answer that I gave, do you think all people are inherently bad or inherently good, or do you think?
I I believe that people are inherently good. Um, I believe that people are often inherently good is maybe how I'd like to say that. People can do terrible things, but I think that people are shaped more by the systems around them and the world in which they grew up in to do terrible things, rather than them being inherently one to do terrible things.
Okay.
And maybe that comes down to, in part, because I think it would be really scary to live in a world where people are inherently evil. I don't want to live in that world. That sounds like a really shit world.
You know, I mean, honestly, that's fair. I I feel like what I was saying in the area, that everybody is evil, but we're all trying to do good.
Hmm.
Like, we've all got our good intentions, even though maybe in the back of our mind we had like a bad thought or
Hmm.
something. If you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't exactly know. Obviously, that's a question that can never truly be answered unless we
Oh, of
do
course.
find a God who can tell us with absolute certainty that people are good or people are evil.
Yeah.
You never really know, but I think honestly that's probably one of the biggest dividing factors that I can think of between people as a whole, between spirituality or politics or just about any problem, is a separation of inherently good people or inherently evil people.
Hmm. I feel like evil's maybe a strong word.
Yeah, I think that's
Maybe
very reasonable.
maybe maybe just
Good and bad.
inherently bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, I think that that's a fair criticism.
do you tend to trust people a lot? Like
Hmm. That
like
is
when you're first meeting people, do you tend to trust them within like a first hour or something of, or like maybe a couple of days, or does it take like some real good quality time to maybe crack open and start sharing some things that maybe you don't talk about, or um
I generally trust pretty quickly. I think that might be one of those things that, if a boss asked me what my flaws were, I might say that it is that I trust too easy. Um,
I'd say
People just meet
I'd agree with
often.
that.
I'll tell them, deep dark secrets that, maybe I shouldn't. And people who are not in my best interest, I will tell things or trust in a way that gives them the ability to take advantage of that trust.
Mm.
I don't know exactly how. I don't know really if that's a flaw, though. I don't know if I could dictate that as a flaw.
I don't think that is necessarily a flaw. I mean, it only can be depending on the people who you have trusted that have. But I mean, it's kind of like a scale of who you have trusted that have been bad or who
Hmm.
you have trusted who have been really good. And I mean,
And I've had a lot of positive experiences when I trust people.
right. I
What
think
about
I
you?
would agree with you in that sense of uh trusting people pretty early.
Mm,
I think recently it's been maybe a little harder to do it in my just my current situation, like my work or
uh-huh.
so it's I think I used to do it a lot and maybe a little too much, and now it's maybe I try and find the people I can trust a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's not it's not the same anymore. I don't like crack open super easily, but I usually tend to trust people like either with money or um I don't know, like
Emotions.
yeah, emotions.
Well, I have a question for you, Shannon. I
Yeah.
want to know when the last time you cried in front of another person, or maybe by yourself, was uh, about anything, really.
Strangely enough, it wasn't that long ago. Well, it was like a couple weeks ago, but I had
Yeah.
seen uh my high school history teacher
Hmm.
and they had just adopted a beautiful baby boy, and I hadn't seen them in probably since I was uh a camp counselor
Hmm.
after high school, and I wanted to go see them, and so I took some time out. I went over there pretty early, and then I spent like 4 or 5 hours over there just catching up with them, and
Hmm.
I was I think I was just stressed out or worn out, and so I just needed some time to just cry, because it's super healthy. I mean, or it is to it's super healthy to get your emotion out sometimes with especially with like the people you trust.
Hmm.
And it was him and his wife, and they were like one of the influences, one of the parental figures.
Hmm.
Uh by myself though. I think I was probably at work and I was just super stressed out, and I like leaned my head down and I was just kind of bawling for like a
Hmm.
solid 5 minutes or something. It was just needed. It was just
Yeah.
needed every once in a while.
And sometimes that is a really good stress relief factor, is just take some time and have a good cry.
I have a good cry. What about you, buddy?
Hmm. Actually, I think it was probably the same time for both of them, in front of another person and by myself.
Yeah.
Um, though I am very quick to cry often. Sometimes I'll just be, sitting and looking at YouTube and I see a video of a dog being rescued, and I'll just cry. I don't really know why. I'll be in situations where I have stress or situations where I don't. I am quick to cry. So often crying doesn't actually imprint itself in my mind that well. So this may very well be a blatant lie that I'm telling right now. But I think the last time I cried in front of another person or by myself was probably about, oh, I don't remember the date. I want to say it was around the start of July, though, when Technoblade, the YouTuber, Minecraft YouTuber, passed away from cancer. He was a YouTuber that I loved sincerely and had imprinted himself in a lot of my life. And the announcement video of when it happened was this very sincere video of his father talking to the camera and telling us his last words. And it really, in a way, almost gave me existential fear about like my own death and what will it be like when I die, and how will I communicate that to my friends, a lot of whom are online. I don't know if my parents know my passwords, if they'll be able to tell the people I know. Um, and then also, it was just honestly really, really well delivered. The father did a great
Yeah.
job in talking about it in such a way that makes you emotional.
Yeah.
And goddamn it, kind of like it's sad. A father talking about his son passing away from cancer is a hard fucking time.
Yeah, I remember. It would have been just even around the same time that we probably
yeah.
both cried. Yeah, I definitely. I don't know if I cried, but I definitely took like some time to just sit and reflect on like how long I've talked or watched watched
Mhm.
Technoblade's YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah. It has been a thing that I've taken a lot of time out of my life for, and a lot of time that I really enjoyed too. He was a very positive motivation and very positive figure in my life, and it's kind of weird to YouTubers dying are kind of weird because you have that relationship with them that they don't share back with you in any way.
Yeah.
And so there's no response to your sadness and your suffering. But it still happens anyway, even though you don't know who the hell they are, like truly.
Right. And I mean, we didn't even know Technoblade's like name or face or
Hmm.
until that video was released, and it just kind of even opened my world a little bit more to
Yeah.
that he was like a real person, and it wasn't
Yeah.
just this internet celebrity that we both loved and cherished.
Our modern relationship with internet celebrities is very it's quite interesting. It's I don't remember the exact word for it, but like pseudo relationships that
Oh, Peppy Pear. I know what you're talking about.
okay, that don't really exist, but do in a way that's substantial enough for one party to gain from it, but the other doesn't really gain anything, I guess, other than a bigger number and maybe some money.
Yeah.
But both profit from it in different ways, and so both kind of encourage it, even if it's toxic or unhealthy.
Yeah. For sure.
Um, I want to ask you, and this is maybe a little bit dark, maybe a little bit existential too. Do you believe that your life has hit its peak? Does it get better from here, or is it downhill?
Hmm.
And maybe more specifically, how does it get better? What's the next step?
Honestly, I don't think I really think my life has hit my peak. I definitely thought about it when after high school, when I was in a little bit of considering college and um, had to find a place. I really thought that that was where my life had basically ended. Like I
Mhm.
was super cool in high school, and then that was it. But no, I think every once in a while I'm gonna use like a metaphor. I'll be climbing up Mount Everest, or and I'll get to the very top, and I'll think that's it, and then there will be like a ladder
Mm.
or maybe a beanstalk, and then I'm gonna go up there and see what's on that hill. And I think that's where I am now. Like I had my big childhood thinking, oh, high school is
Mhm.
gonna be it, and then oh, I can see the other side of that mountain, but there's a beanstalk, and I'm gonna climb. I'm gonna just keep climbing up there, and I think it definitely does get better, especially if like anybody who super young and just doesn't think their life is going to go anywhere. It definitely does get better, and you have to be looking at it like, or I'd like to think that you just keep looking up, keep keeping your head up towards the next big thing. And there's always going to be a next big thing.
That's a really nice answer. I think that I am pretty similar. That is, it may feel like it's peaked, and sometimes like it has reached a peak, but there's always somewhere else. There's always a taller mountain that you can climb.
It's a good way to put it. There's always a taller mountain you can climb.
There's always a taller mountain. So get climbing.
Get climbing.
Get climbing.
I think that's where we're gonna end it.
Okay, well, I'd like to ask one more question before we wrap up, and I think this idea has come up a couple of times as we've talked. But it's more the fundamental idea of, do you think nature or nurture is more important in the developing of a person?
Ooh.
The circumstances of your birth or the circumstances of your raising? I'll go ahead if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
There are a lot of people who have made these arguments that, and I'm showing my bias here, that you can be born with a destined IQ or a determination of intelligence, and I think that I very much do not believe in that idea. Uh, I have always had some trouble with this concept. Um, at least up to a few years ago, where I largely made up my mind that nature is a minor facet of the person. It can determine some things like physical appearance or diseases, those kinds of physical properties. But the mental properties, which make up more and more of our being, are developmental. Now, of course, there are some exceptions to this, like fetal alcohol syndrome, for example, which can seriously and by birth determine how big your brain can be and how many thoughts you can have, how intelligent you could be.
Mm.
But on large, it seems to me to be related to, as we've talked about quite a few times today, our religion that we grew up with, or our parents' situation. Our siblings is a very good example. I think I'd be an immensely different person if not for being an only child.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you would be a immensely different person if not for being a youngest child.
Mm-hmm.
And those are of environment.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think I would have to completely agree. I thought you were arguing for nature,
Hmm.
but for sure I think nurture. I think When people talk about nurture, they go off of their parents, but I don't think it's just off of your parents. I think it's just off of the people who have taught you all the little things about who you are, and especially when we're younger, we're very influenced by the people around us, and so I think for sure I'm definitely gonna have to say nurture. It
Hmm.
even if it's not nurture in the way that it's like I said, my parents, or
Hmm.
it's the people who bring you up and even put you down. It's that balance of like growing a plant, basically.
Yeah. And there is that balance required to become a rounded person. Well, I think that was a pretty good.
Thank you so much for listening to our first episode of Waiting for Seconds. Next episode, we'll bring on a lovely guest and ask them some of the same questions we asked today, and maybe some new ones. And a couple more episodes down the line, we'll come back to the two of us and talk about how we're feeling about these questions and the people we've talked to. So until next time, I'm Shannon Miller,
I'm Malcolm Outkelp.
and goodbye.
Goodbye.